Well, it's been a while since I posted any Technic content here, but after working on this for quite a while, I'm here in beautiful northern Ontario and ready to show you a new modular Toyota Land Cruiser 70 model I've been working on. So there's far more variants you can make than just the two I have here. I don't actually have the parts to build more than two at once, so I'll be showing them later in the video. I'll have taken apart and rebuilt. So right now what we've got is, we've got one here with the 1984 style front end, the shortest possible wheelbase, and a convertible roof. And then here we've got one with the 2024 facelift front end, the single cab truck body, and a custom flatbed. So I'll get more into how the modular nature of it works and what options there are later in the video, like I said, but it's also cold out here, so I don't want to spend too much time out here. I think we're just going to get to the functions next. So one aspect of the modularity that I will talk about here is that there's two different chassis designs. There's the motorized chassis design that I'm using on the truck right now, and then there's the manual chassis design that I'm using on the short wheelbase SUV. So I'll start by showing the manual chassis. So all the chassis have full live axle suspension. So it's using a 3-link design in the front, link, and then a pinhead rod and a steering link with 2 soft shocks. The rear is similar, pinhead rod there, 2 long links. These are actually soft shocks, they're yellow, but that's because I had stuff swapped around. And then we've got differentials front and rear for the drivetrain. So for steering, we've got manual steering wheel, right-hand drive, because that's what's more common where these models are known for being sold, Australia especially. Not actually loving the manual setup here. I got 2 gears in here to make the direction work out right, and they're skipping a fair bit, but I don't know, it's just a manual model and you can make it work. So under the hood we got universal joint driving down to there, and it's running this linkage here for the steering. So yeah, then for drivetrain we've got quite a few engine options. So I believe on the real-world vehicle you can get it in inline 4, inline 5, inline 6, V6, and V8 engine configurations at some point during its history. So I've actually got options for all of them. Right now it's a V8 we've got in there, so you can push it along and move the pistons. And for the manual model I added a 4-speed manual gearbox. So we got first gear here, which spins the engine the fastest, the wheel's the slowest. Second speed, third, and fourth, where you get the most wheel revolutions per engine revolution. So yeah, I think that's the extent of what the manual chassis does. Nothing too crazy, but I think a pretty good function set for the size at least. Alright, now for the motorized chassis. So in the motorized chassis, we've got 4 motors on 3 channels. So I've got 2 Power Functions large motors for drive, 1 Power Functions servo motor for steering, and a Power Functions medium motor for shifting. I'm controlling it all from my trusty favorite Mold King 6.0 battery box. It's not a very popular choice among a lot of Technic people, but I think it should be. It's got 6 outputs, proportional control from a physical controller, rechargeable, and not too expensive. So, yeah, I really like it. So I'm using, so the medium motor is for a 2-speed transmission. So you can see that down there. So we've got a low gear. For off-roading like this. So, doesn't look like we're going to make it through this one. This thing isn't built for maximum performance. Oh, there we go. And then we got high gear, which is better for flat ground or maybe downhill like this here. So under the hood you can see the servo motor we've got for steering, which runs that linkage there, and also the steering wheel. The L motors are there for drive. And then the medium motor for shifting is tucked in here. So yeah, I think it's time to just show some off-road driving. Alright, let's go. We're probably going to be in low gear the whole time. So I've got an open differential on the front and a permanently locked one on the rear. And that big bumper is definitely hurting performance. But, pick your lines right, I seem to be making it through. Oh yeah. Getting hung up on the frame. This is probably where a shorter wheelbase variant would do better, but that's not the one I currently have built in the motorized chassis. There we go. Oh yeah, getting caught on the rear axle. Let's see. There we go. There we go, onto the bridge. sure what that is. Almost looks like horse droppings. I don't think I want to drive into that. And the bumper is stuck. Not sure we can get out of that one without help, so I'll help it. But there we go. Let's cruise a little in high gear. Definitely not the best choice for any kind of off-roading, but works well enough on smooth surfaces if you just want to get places. I think I'm now going to try taking advantage of the modularity of this, and I'm going to switch between the manual and motorized chassis. So we'll have the short wheelbase SUV with the motors, and the truck with the manual. So I can show some different off-road footage. So the first step in that process is just to take off the bodies. So the cab and the bed come off in units, and then the whole body comes off the manual chassis. Next, I got to remove the center chassis beams, which are just those on the short wheelbase, and then this on the long one, and then the rear suspension links, so I can separate the two halves of the chassis. Alright, surgery is complete, and the chassis have been swapped. This guy's manual now, and this guy's motorized. Just going to jump in here and point out that I've actually made instructions for this model. It's not something I usually do, but I thought it would be pretty cool to do it here. So it was a huge amount of work making instructions for all the different variants, and it was my first try, so I'm not sure how good it's going to be, but it'll be available, I believe, for free on Rebrickable. But yeah, there will be more details about that probably below. I think this route looks so cool, I gotta try it again. I'm gonna fix that. That was awkward. This door is actually not built the way it should be. I ran out of parts to build a second copy just right. So it's a little weird. Probably be a fair bit better if I converted it to a locked front differential as well, but I'm just leaving it in this mixed configuration. Seems like a bit of a fairly good middle ground for on-road and off-road. It doesn't want to make that route happen. Let's try another one. There we go. And lost its bumper and dragged it in the mud. High centered on the rear. Not gonna get out of that. Right down to the river. Right there? No. Too deep. Not gonna try a water crossing. So as far as other details go in the body, we've got opening hoods all around. I think you've seen that already. Opening doors. They don't have a latch, but we do have a pin down here that it can kind of lock onto. The rear doors can be opened using a simple latch here. Just locks into that. And then because this is a convertible, so there are actually two different windshield options. We've got a basic one like this, it's just part of the roof, nothing fancy. Then we've got this one here that's a folding option that you can really only use reasonably with the convertibles. But this one here is a convertible, so we can fold it down like that, and then we can slide up these flick-fire missiles and lift off the rear roof. It'll leave us with just that. We got a little bar going over the top. We do have these kind of silly window panes at the back, but I think that's how the factory ones worked. So, yeah, got the convertible. Now that I'm back inside, just gonna quick go over a few different components of these vehicles. So I'll start with the manual chassis here, now that we can see it a bit better. Got the suspension like that. Works pretty good. Underside view there. I'm using metal universal joints just to make sure nothing breaks. Not sure how necessary they are, but I think they're a good idea. Also notice that at this point in the video, I have now fixed the transmission design from earlier in the video, so it's working much better now. Steering with the servo motor, you can now see the full mechanism. We're using this weird thing just to get a 45-degree angle from there, which is what is required to have the steering actually line up in the center position. Steering wheel is driven by a rubber band. Drive. So that's that. Now for the manual chassis, we can flip it over here. I don't have enough parts to have both of their steerings built at once, so only this side here is actually going to steer right now. So similar mechanism to the other one. Shifting there, as shown before. Suspension. Now for the engine, I'm going to just show the modular engine options. So, yeah, we got V8 spinning there. But like I said, there's a lot of possible engines. So we've got V8, V6, inline 4, inline 6, inline 5. So they can just be dropped in. These 22 single bevel gears mesh nicely with that 12-tooth spur gear. Just slide it and drop it in like that. We got V6 running. Take that out. Drop in the inline 4. Then for these ones, I don't have the new parts from the Kawasaki for small scale engines. I made instructions for two variants, either the axle-based one here or one using those specialized parts. The specialized part one is probably going to be smoother, but this one is less colorful and probably has a more accurate firing pattern. The inline 5, I don't think there's much of a way to make a realistic firing pattern for that. I think it's pretty fun to have the modular engine options like that. So another aspect of the modularity is that on both the 1984 and 2007 front ends, you can swap grills around. So we can have this one here that's simulating the Toyota text, or we can remove that, bring in this one. I'll need both hands to install. Sorry about that. So now you've got a different look that's more simulating the Toyota logo and a different grille. I prefer the text one, which is why I filmed with it, but it's kind of cool to have the option of the two. Alright, I think I'm just going to do some quick clips here showing all the different body styles. So starting here, instead of having the single cab truck with the flatbed, we've now got it with a stock, just normal bed. Got a normal tailgate. Here's another variant. Now single cab with the tray style rear bed, which I think is a factory's option in some places. And then I've also got the 2007 style front end on here. So just going to say there's a few things that aren't looking quite as good as they might. Mainly because I had to build in light bluish gray rather than the white that it is in the instructions. So the first issue is that neither of these panels officially exist in light bluish gray. So the ones I used here, and on the tailgate, I had to work around. And on the side here, I happen to have 4 fake ones, so I just used them. But there's also a workaround if you would want to do light bluish gray without them. But anyways, oh yeah, and the other thing, the grille here kind of blends in the light bluish gray, which I think is not ideal, but this is the color I have the parts in, so that's what I built. But anyways, this is what the front end looks like. Got the snorkel going still. Got the license plate there. The sides all fold down. I think this is a pretty good looking option. I guess I should clarify that when I mean good looking, I'm talking more about the bed and less about the front. This is really my least favorite of the front end designs. But I will just point out here, similar to the 1984 style front end, I've got 2 different options for grille. We've got the one with the logo and the one with the text. The text I think was a lot less common of an option for this front end style in the real world, but I think it looks pretty good here as well. Makes the front, otherwise not that amazing front end look a little better, I think. Here's the short wheelbase SUV again, but this time with the hardtop roof on it. Here's another option for body style. We're now on the double cab pickup truck. And this is the first of the bed options for it, which is just fairly plain. I'm calling it a stock bed. Got opening doors. Rear seat can fold. It can fold on all the ones that have a rear seat. And can fold the tailgate. Get that down there. Yep. Here's the double cab truck again, but now with the tray bed. So as on the other one, well again it looks a little worse than it should because I don't have those 7x3 panels in light bluish gray. Same on the rear. But yeah, like on the single cab, we can fold down the sides. Yeah. Here's the double cab with the flatbed option, which I think is another really cool looking configuration. Here's the long wheelbase troop carrier SUV version. So this one here, we've got the latch for the rear doors, which we can then open. And then inside we've got these 4 sideways benches. This is a 13-seat variant of the original. It's pretty interesting having the sideways seats. I actually got to ride in one of these last summer in the back. It's pretty interesting. But you can also fold them all up to get plenty of storage space. This variant here is the medium wheelbase 2-door SUV, or LC73 would be the code for it. This is actually a bit of a weird hybrid because, to my knowledge, they never actually, they discontinued this body style, I guess around the time they came out with the 4-door medium wheelbase SUV, which means that it never actually existed with this 2024 front end. But the cool thing about a modular Lego model is that you can make it any way you want. Just one note, these parts here are the wrong parts. Should be these ones here, but I don't have them in light gray. So, just like with the short wheelbase version here, you can take off the roof. By pulling up on these flick fire missile parts. Fix this up. Then you get this kind of look, which is fairly cool, I think. Again, we've got that awkward rear bit there, but I think that's there in real life. Fold down the windshield like that. So, yeah. And here's that medium wheelbase 2-door SUV, but now it's the hardtop, tin top. And here's the final body style, the 4-door SUV. Open the front doors as always, and the rear doors. And the hood. And the rear doors as always. I think it's a pretty good looking variant as well. And then there's this rear door variant that's really not changed very much, but it's just got a jerry can holder on it, which is using the jerry can from the Lego Extreme Adventure set, so that's not my design. That's something that I took from Lego, so instructions for that are obviously freely available from me or from Lego. Both roof baskets and roof racks. So there's 2 similar designs. I've got the basket on now, I'll show the rack in a minute. And these come in variants for all of the different body styles. So you got a really stubby one for your single cab truck, double cab truck, short wheelbase SUV, medium wheelbase 2-door, 4-door, and long wheelbase SUV. So there's a whole bunch of variants of those. And yeah, I think they add a nice look to it, but they're not very complicated. Yeah, looks like that. And here it is with the roof rack instead of the roof basket. Got the more flat top and a bit raised up. Bit of a different look. So this model has been pretty fun to work on. It's been a lot of work, especially with all of the documentation I've done, but I don't know, hopefully it's worth it. Really fun to make all these different variants, kind of make an exhaustive model of probably my favorite early world car. Functionality isn't too crazy, but I think it's reasonable given the size and the constraints that the modularity causes, and I'm quite happy with the way it looks.